All right, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We were set for 5:30, so I want to respect everyone's time. It's also being Zoomed and all of that, so everyone that's supposed to be here live is here. That's what I always say. My name is Chris Caban. I'm one of the founders of Levita Compounding Pharmacy, and we work very closely with Shine and Dr. Noel. And if you're here for the hormone talk, you're at the right place. We've been doing these a long time at these little dog and pony shows, I call them. But it all started one night. We were having wine, we were sitting around dinner, and all my girlfriends were complaining, "Oh my God, I've just gained weight. I can't lose the muffin top, and I don't feel like having sex anymore, and I'm exhausted all the time," and on and on. I said, "You guys need to get your hormones checked, and we're living longer. We don't have to feel like that anymore." And it kind of led to, well, you guys women don't know there's this option. I mean, basically, I think there was the Women's Health Initiative back in 2014 that scared everybody off hormones, and doctors never really redirected them to a place that's safe and efficacious. So tonight, it's not just our opinion. This is based in fact. There's plenty of science-based, peer-reviewed studies on all of this, and we're not selling a thing. We're just giving you information because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So we hope tonight gives you sort of a game plan for yourself if you're struggling or someone you know is struggling, that there is hope, there is answers, and we deal with that all day long, as you know. So we'll get to the good doctor, the main event, in just a minute, but we're going to get through a few slides here. I'm a compounding pharmacist and been doing it almost 30 years, I think now. And Dr. Noel, we've been working together. How long has Shine been open now?
Gosh, I think almost 10 years now.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
We've gone through a lot of patients together, and thanks to Koizen Cellar, it's an awesome place for a gathering. I didn't even know, I've heard about it, but I didn't know it was so close to where Levita is, so this is awesome. And of course, thanks to Shine. So the whole thing about tonight is just feel like yourself again. I mean, I think we've forgotten what it felt like to feel rested and good and vital. Not just surviving, but thriving, and there's a difference. I mean, that's what we're about. We're about helping you thrive. Okay, the old 7 menopausal dwarfs. Have you guys ever seen this before? Okay, we have sweaty, itchy, bitchy, sleepy, forgetful, psycho, and bloated. Yeah, and if you're all that on one day, it is not a good day. And some of these are just uncomfortable side effects of hormones being out of balance, and some of them are indicative of end-of-life things potentially brewing that we need to get a handle on. So the biggest thing is you're not alone. This is super, super common, but it shouldn't be something that's super common to live with. It should be addressed. And I didn't know that was the next slide, but in that note, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Lauren Noel. She has an awesome practice in Solana Beach, and we work together, and she's a naturopathic doctor. Maybe you can tell a little bit about your practice.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then how do I do the next one?
It's the down button. That one button.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So good to be here. Thank you so much for coming out. It's so nice to do this in person. Last year we did virtual, so I love seeing all your faces. There's just something about being in person that we can't replicate. So good to have you. A little bit about me. So I'm a naturopathic doctor, which means that I'm trained in conventional medicine and naturopathic or natural medicine. So coming to see me as a doctor, I'm not just going to listen to your symptoms and give you a medication. I'm actually going to get to the root of the symptoms, do the testing to figure out what's going on. And then also we can use tools like herbs, supplements, lifestyle, the things that really work before we have to jump to using medication. So we can prescribe meds, but it just depends on the case, and usually we don't need to. Bioidentical hormones, they're a huge tool that I use with patients. I hear it all the time where patients will say, I finally feel like myself again, the way that I used to feel before I either had a hysterectomy or going through menopause. Sometimes women have real stressful events that happen, and it can push them into menopause, and they just don't feel like themselves. And so using bioidenticals can be such a game changer just to feel like yourself again. You'll understand why that is, because hormones do so much more than just stop hot flashes. It can be some big, misconceptions about what hormones actually do in your body, and so I'm excited to go into that. I also have a health podcast. I've been doing that for 10 years.
Wow.
We have over 4 million listens at this point, so it's all free. It's almost 400 episodes, so if you want to learn about stuff, you can subscribe to that, and it's just lots of information from hormones to everything you can think about. I even did an episode on natural health for dogs and cats, so literally anything you can learn about there. So let's get into a little bit of what happens with our hormones as we go through different stages of life. So around our mid-30s is when hormones start to change. Usually the first thing that happens is progesterone starts to go down. And so women can start to have some symptoms creep up, and maybe they start drinking wine more so. Love wine, but sometimes people use it as medicine, before bed. And that's because typically progesterone is something that starts to go down, and then that doesn't really help sleep too much, and we'll get into more of that. So about mid-35, 35, 40 is when things start to change, and then perimenopause can last about 10 to 15 years. The average time for menopause is 51, 52, but you can see that things can start to change leading up to that. So you can have hormone deficiency, and a lot of different symptoms can result from that. So, do you want to get into the bioidentical part?
Sure. Okay. So there's lots of hormones out there, but they're not created equal. There's synthetic hormones, which is really sourced from pregnant mare's urine, and that whole process is horrific. How they treat the horses at that, but that's a whole other topic. But what you really want to be on are bioidentical hormones, and they are natural sourced from soy or yams. We use yam because there's a lot of issues with soy. But they're synthesized in the lab so we can work with it. But the key thing is that it's identical to what's in your body. So the estrogen you order and we make, it looks exactly like the estrogen in your body and your body. And your body knows what to do with it. It recognizes it, knows how to metabolize and get rid of it. Whereas the synthetic hormones, especially the synthetic progesterone is known to stick around for 6 months in the body. And that's when it can start wreaking havoc with cancers and just clotting and different things like that. It's all customized through compounding pharmacies. You can get commercial bioidentical hormones. We do have those. It's just that we're very limited in strengths and combinations.
Yeah, and it's made custom based on lab work. So it's really tailored to the individual. It's not cookie cutter medicine, which is really awesome.
Yep, it's not one size fits all.
Yeah. So let's get into what estrogen does. Again, it's more than just reducing hot flashes. It does a lot of things. Over 400 different functions in your body is what estrogen does. So you have a receptor for estrogen on every cell in your body, your brain, your bones, your heart. So it has some real effects on every body system. In fact, Dr. Daniel Amen, have you guys heard of him? He's a brain doctor, and he prescribes bioidenticals all the time for brain rehabilitation because of what it does for healing that. So it regulates body temperature. That's why hot flashes are kind of the most common symptom we hear about. But it does so much more. So it improves insulin sensitivity. So when I have a patient come in and maybe they have high insulin or high glucose and they're having a hard time with weight loss, when you have high insulin, it's really hard to lose weight. It's like putting a lock on your fat cells. You just can't seem to move it. And so helping to get estrogen levels higher can really help for that to improve. Also sleep. A lot of women, they have to throw the covers off of them. They're soaking the sheets at night, and they have to get a chili pad to lay on when really it's the hormones. And then cardiovascular function as well. Also, it can help maintain the elasticity of your arteries, which is a common issue that happens with aging is arteriosclerosis. Your actual blood vessels can get harder, and that's for heart health. Also collagen in the skin. So women will say as their hormones improve, they notice that their face feels more moisturized. Also their joints feel more lubricated because it's a lubricator. So when you have low estrogen, you can have dry skin, you can have vaginal dryness, you can feel kind of like a rusty hinge, like your joints just feel kind of achy. And also can help maintain memory too. So it's a common thing, you walk into a room, you forget why, that can be a hormonal thing actually. Also it increases sex drive. So again, you need estrogen to help with lubrication of different tissues, also vaginal tissues. But if you don't feel so vital, you're not really motivated to have sex. It's kind of like you'd rather just, I remember this saying someone said is that if Brad Pitt walks in the room and you'd rather have him babysit than get it on with him, you might want to get your hormones checked. So also bone density. This is a big one. I had a patient just a few minutes ago. She's prescribed Fosamax for her osteoporosis, but we checked her hormones and they're totally in the gutter. So we're working on using that to help rebuild her bones.
Well, and I have patients often who say, well, what if I don't have side effects? There are those women, those lucky women that have no symptoms of low hormones. And my answer to that is, well, you have, let's say estrogen, we're talking about estrogen, receptors all over your brain, all over your heart, all over your bones. And if you're not feeding those receptors enough estrogen, those organs are most likely in decline. And there are great studies, for example, linking Alzheimer's with patients that have been in estrogen deficiency for long lengths of time. It's not the only thing linked to Alzheimer's, but it is a piece of that puzzle. So it's really important to know where you're at, even if you're asymptomatic.
Absolutely. You know, I tell patients you can't feel high cholesterol, for example. And cholesterol is a whole thing, but you can't feel osteoporosis necessarily until there's a break, right? So symptoms can be very misleading. All right, so there's different types of estrogen. It's not just estrogen. There's actually 3 estrogens. E1, which is estrone, so remember the O-N-E, estrone for 1. E2 is estradiol, so the di is 2, and then estriol for 3. So E1, E2, E3, if you ever hear those abbreviations. And so E2, it actually carries the weight for most of the estrogen function. This helps the most with like hot flashes and all the other stuff that we talk about, and also night sweats. It aids the most in cardiovascular health, and it's important for the brain function, bone density, aids with memory, the skin thickness, integrity. So like most of the main functions of estrogen, estradiol does. And then there's estriol. So this one is actually the least potent, so it controls symptoms the least. However, it is shown to be the most protective against breast cancer. So with my patients, some doctors just do estradiol. I actually do what's called Biest, so it's an 80% of estriol and 20% of estradiol. So the hormones we do have some real cancer protective benefits, actually. And commercial estrogens do not contain estriol. So Vivel, Climera, patients like wear the patch, and it doesn't have the cancer protection benefits of the estriol. So it's only available through a compounding pharmacy like Levita.
It's also the one that's really helpful with skin, like we put it in our skincare, and we'll get to that.
Yes, exactly. It can be put in the skincare, and also it's best for dryness too.
It works like a charm.
Yeah, this is one of those where patients come in, they're like, I have vaginal dryness. I'm like, do you want me to help with that? And they're like, all right. They don't even think it could get better. They just think this is just part of where they're at. And then I prescribe that, and like literally the next appointment, within a week, they can have improvement in the dryness, and that can be very relieving. And then there's progesterone. I love progesterone.
Yeah. Happy hormone.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So progesterone balances your mood and stress and irritability. So, and why this happens is because progesterone actually has GABA effects in your brain. So GABA is that calm neurotransmitter that has you feel nice and relaxed. It's what wine helps with, but it's kind of short-lived. It can affect blood sugar and all kinds of stuff. So it's not so good as a sleep aid, but if you feel like wine kind of relaxes you and you like that feeling, progesterone may actually be your best friend. So it also helps to increase HDL, interestingly. So that's the good cholesterol. And it helps to ease with hormonal headaches. It can be amazing for migraines. Migraines can be, just so debilitating for patients. And oftentimes that's from an estrogen dominant kind of problem where there's an imbalance between the estrogen and progesterone. I tell patients I like them to be kind of on a teeter-totter. Yeah. So if you have one higher than the other, usually you don't see high progesterone with low estrogen. Usually it's this way. And that can really cause issues with bad PMS and breast tenderness, irritability with your cycles. It's where you just become a different person before your period.
Right. Do you guys have questions too? This is very casual.
It's I can just stop things and
just ask whatever you want to ask. Grab a glass of wine, grab a snack. Restrooms right there. This is for you guys, but we're not just talking. We want you to guys ask questions if you have them. And yeah, progesterone, you'll love it. It helps around those edges. It helps you cope better.
It's wonderful. And it's something that is actually really important for fertility. So one of the big focuses I have with patients is fertility. I do a lot to help couples prepare for pregnancy. And so, especially for women like 35 and beyond, as soon as they get pregnant, I check, see where's their progesterone, and oftentimes I'll put them on it right away because it can be very helpful for preventing miscarriage and all that. Postpartum, absolutely, yeah. And also impacts bone density as well. So estrogen and progesterone have kind of this, Batman and Robin type of relationship with bone strength. So estrogen helps to build the bone, progesterone helps with like remodeling, and so the two of them together are really important to build bone density. And then there's testosterone. We tend to think of that as a guy hormone, and it's couldn't be further from the truth. Women need
Well,
testosterone.
currently Big Pharma thinks it's only a guy hormone.
Right.
Because there's no testosterone for women available commercially.
That's right. And it's kind of heartbreaking because it's one of those hormones that can be such a game changer, especially if women are dealing, they just feel kind of blah, they don't really have as much motivation, feel like, you know, they're working out and not helping to build lean muscle. They just can't seem to burn fat. They're just working out, nothing's really happening. Or they feel like their sex drive is low. Those are all symptoms of low testosterone. And so helping to supplement that can be extremely helpful. Also just helping to boost self-confidence. I find that when women get this higher, they're just like, let's go. You know, I'm ready to do kind of what I need to do now. It's
Get your swag back.
Yeah, exactly. So it also can help to strengthen libido and also help to improve the ability to climax as well. So I've had patients with like, I used to have an orgasm so easily and now I can't anymore. And testosterone. Yeah. And then the thyroid, we can't forget about the thyroid. So the thyroid is a little butterfly-shaped gland right in the front of your neck, and it does so many things. It helps with weight loss. It helps with body temperature. If you have low thyroid, you're constipated, you can't lose weight, your skin is dry, you can't remember anything, your hair's falling out. I mean, the symptoms are so widespread with an underactive thyroid, and so helping to address that can be so amazing.
And it's often overlooked. Most allopathic Western medicine doctors will run TSH, which is one thyroid marker that they also, the range of that they're looking at is not even right. So if you go to a doctor, like a naturopathic doctor like Dr. Noel, and you run, I'm sure, a whole thyroid panel and antibodies and looking for everything to get the full picture of thyroid, because there was a great study out showing that by only testing TSH, women, especially particularly women in this study, suffered for 8 years with low thyroid before it ever actually showed up bad enough on a TSH for them to prescribe thyroid to them. So if they would have run the whole battery of thyroid, they would have seen that 8 years previous.
Right, and most of the time when someone has an underactive thyroid, it's a condition called Hashimoto's. It is an autoimmune issue. It's not actually a thyroid condition. It's an autoimmune condition that attacks your thyroid. And so most of the time it's that, and it's never tested. So with every new patient, I'm doing a full thyroid panel, which are 10 different markers plus thyroid antibodies. And it's heartbreaking when someone has that diagnosis and they've been, you know, treated for a thyroid issue for like 10, 20 years. And we finally find that. It's cool. I'm like, all right, you're here now. The past is the past. But this, you know, really, if it were addressed earlier, it can be so amazing for helping you feel better. So the thyroid aids in your metabolism. So a common symptom is you eat like a bird and can't lose weight. So helping to strengthen that metabolism, that's what the thyroid does. And it's much higher in women. It also, when your thyroid is underactive, it increases your bad cholesterol. So when a woman comes in, maybe she's taking a statin, her doctor just keeps like targeting her cholesterol. I'm like, let's check your thyroid. Okay, let's get that addressed. And I think in every case, I've gotten every patient off of statins because it's just treating the symptom. It's not addressing the root of the problem. And then, so weight gain is a big one, and then hair loss. So that's a really frustrating symptom, and it stops like right away when you get your thyroid addressed. So skin, we mentioned this a bit earlier, that our skin loves hormones. That's why when we're younger or when we're pregnant, we get that glow because we have so many hormones when we're pregnant. So hormone deficiencies can age your skin, and company pharmacies can make customized skincare. So let's say, for example, I have a patient coming in who has too much testosterone and she's getting acne. We can do customized skincare to actually help bring that down. We have, you know, maybe you feel like you have more like fine lines around your eyes. We can do a cream that has estriol in it, and it can be amazing to help smooth that out.
Right, and there's great science-based studies around that showing it decreases wrinkle depth, increases collagen, increases elastin. I always say it's like putting that fluff back in the mattress and fluffing it up again. It puffs the skin back out again. So just that little estriol, that one you talked about earlier, E3, that's the weak one, the least potent of all the estrogens. It's a powerhouse when it comes to skin, topically on the face, skin vaginally. The skin is skin, and it's an amazing ingredient we get to work with. So yeah, I don't know. Does anybody know what a compounding pharmacy is? Yes, no, a little bit. Okay, so the compounding pharmacy, we have all the same drugs your local CVS has, but we also have state-of-the-art labs where we make everything on a direct order from a doctor. We work with all the hospital, Scripps, Sharp, UCSD, making where they're compounding pharmacy for them too. We just customize everything. It's not a one-size-fits-all world. So we really, whatever is not commercially available, we are allowed to make, which is a lot of things. Believe it or not, there's a lot of solutions we have, and that's really where a lot of big pharma comes in and takes, oh gosh, they're making this topical pain cream that really works. So we're going to go patent this now and make it. So, but that's fine. We do the R&D for the big pharma, I guess.
What I like about compounding pharmacies too is that it's cleaner, so that you don't get like the binders and the fillers and the different preservatives like that. So like, for example, you can have a medication that has peanut oil in it. It's really common and that's an allergy, so we can make something without it. And so I love being able to do that for sensitive folks. And you hear a lot of misinformation about compounding pharmacies as well. We are highly regulated. All our chemical houses are FDA registered. FDA can walk in my door at any time, and they have, the DEA, the boards of pharmacy. I'm not jealous of all those hoops. Yeah, I've sat down at the table with all those people, and we've done very well. So we're one of the few compounding pharmacies that are accredited, so it's a super high level of, I think there might be one more slide. Super high level of accreditation we'll get there, that we have to, abide by what we buy, the chemicals we buy, the training we do, the testing we do. Things get sent out to third-party labs for testing. So when you write a progesterone 100 milligram cap, it's a progesterone 100 milligram cap. And she's able to then, the fact that there's consistency in that, and that's, I know, important to you guys, it's important to us, and it helps me sleep at night. So yes. All right. Did you guys study? Quiz time, we have some prizes. And I want to answer. Any answer is fine. There are no wrong answers here. This is for fun. Okay, what's the first prize? Do we have a prize?
Oh, yes. Okay. We have a grand prize actually too from Poison. Yay.
So we'll give the prizes out at the end, but you're going to you'll remember who answered what, right?
Yeah.
So whoever answers first correctly starts winning prizes. So we're going to bribe you to answer.
I love the video.
Yeah.
That's the new edition. I love it. All right, so question. Your midsection is getting bigger and gaining weight despite working out. What is to blame? Is it 1, high progesterone, 2, low estrogen, 3, estrogen dominance, or 4, none of the above?
2. None of the above, she says. Which one? Low estrogen, she's saying 2. So we have 4 and 2. Anybody else want to answer? 4. Okay. And the answer is, drum roll.
Estrogen dominance. That was a hard one. I don't know that I went over that.
Yeah. You kind of did. You said estrogen's high, but
yeah.
And we said that, there you weren't.
So the estrogen dominance, it makes it tough to maintain body weight, and balancing that, it just makes it so much easier without having to do anything differently. That's the thing. You don't have to like exercise more or limit your food when you get the hormones balanced. It's like you just burn fat easier on your own. All right, you're happy 1 minute, irritable, annoyed the next. That's caused by
your spouse.
1, 1, low progesterone, 2, low estrogen, 3, high testosterone, or 4, none of the above.
1. Okay, 1. She said 1 for ladies. Which one? 2. Okay. The answer is
low progesterone.
I think it was this gal first. Huh?
Is it Melody?
Yeah.
Yay! Congratulations, Melody.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you can't stay asleep. You can't sleep or stay asleep. What's to blame? Is it low progesterone? Is it high testosterone, low estrogen, or both 1 and 2, which is low progesterone and high testosterone? 1. Okay. Low progesterone.
Yep. I think she's the big winner. That's right.
All right, let me see if there's any questions on the socials. You guys are smart on here, getting some good answers going.
Do you have any questions while she's looking those up, guys? Don't be shy. We're here for
Shoot the questions over, my loves, if you have any questions. And I sent you guys some questions.
Okay.
For headaches, you mentioned that progesterone is good for headaches. Is that good for the migraine headache?
Absolutely. That's probably probably the main type of headache that it helps.
The
migraines.
hormonal
That's very
migraine.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an estrogen dominance thing. So
Okay.
typically, not always, but it can be incredibly helpful.
Okay, good to
Yep.
know.
And also blood sugar balance. A lot of the women who have migraines, their blood sugar is just all over the place.
All over the place, yeah.
We have different age groups for that too. Like I know somebody was just telling me how much she has migraines and she's, I don't know, from the age of 25, I don't know.
Right, so sometimes in that case, it's actually a matter of helping. So the question was, depending on age. So let's say a patient's like 28 and having chronic migraines. Well, in that case, we probably wouldn't put them on progesterone necessarily. It's more about checking their hormones, and maybe they have too much estrogen, and it's more about detoxing that to help just balance things out that way. Usually it's a liver thing. Yeah. And sometimes genetically, you just inherit the tendency to hold on to certain hormones more, and that's okay because we can work with that. We can still fix that. It's just helpful to know that.
I was thinking a woman in the 40, 45 range, so that would be it.
Yeah, that may be more so the need for progesterone. And sometimes it's the need for estrogen too, so it can depend.
A lot of times we'll see them having a headache right before their period starts because the progesterone is dropped really low right then. So that's kind of a hint that we need to pump up the progesterone a little bit. We've seen it help a lot of women with hormonal migraines. Yeah.
Question from
Yeah.
an online viewer.
Okay.
When should menopausal women get off HRT?
Do you want to talk about that?
I'll talk about it. There's different schools of thought. Personally, I mean, they're going to have to wrestle them from me.
Let me repeat the question. So the question was, when should women get off of hormone replacement therapy?
Right. And there's different schools of thought out there. That's what I said is the very conservative groups, and actually they've changed their tune. The North American Menopause Association 10 years ago used to say, don't embrace menopause, don't use hormones. And then about 5 years after that, they said, well, get on them to help with symptoms, and then
As the women say, hell no.
Yeah, you've embraced menopause, and get on them and get off them. And now the position statement is, we are starting to see now that women might be on them and need to be on them indefinitely. We're living longer, and they're actually safer. It's safer for them to be on them than off of them because there's so much protective function from hormones. So because of the fact that you have literally hundreds of thousands of hormone receptors all over your brain, your skin, your heart, your bones, we're living longer. 100 years ago, we lived to be, I think women lived to be 54. And now that is bumped way up in around 80 something. And so we have to keep a little oil in that engine. The endocrine system didn't get that memo, so we have to do it for. And that's how I feel.
Yeah, I think it's a way to kind of biohack aging, really. As long as it's being done safely, where there's testing that's done, and that testing is done properly. That's what I think is most important. We get the cancer question, right? So what about cancer risk? And I tell patients, hormones can't cause cancer. They're not able to do that. It's not something that they can do. But if you have an estrogen positive receptor type of cancer, then it could potentially grow it because it grows everything. It grows your bones, it helps grow your skin, it grows all that kind of stuff. So as long as you're making sure you're doing your exams and doing all that stuff, that's really all there is in terms of risk. And actually the estriol is protective for that, though.
And they're metabolizing down a healthy pathway. There's bad pathways and good pathways, and there's ways that we can find out if you're going down a bad pathway. And the good news is we can give you some just supplements, not even drugs, but just vitamin supplements that will push you down the healthy pathway. So knowledge is power. I mean, the more testing we can do, we can stay ahead of keeping you healthy.
Yeah, and so doing the testing, like for example, E1, estrone, we know that one is not so good. It's a not so good estrogen, and so I'm always checking, is this patient turning their estrogen into E1? Okay, well, let's change it up now, and so we don't even have to deal with that risk at that point. All right, so I had a question on here. Let's see. What natural solutions do you suggest for women with low testosterone who instantly get acne with any testosterone or DHT? That's a fantastic question, and that's a processing problem. So one of my favorite tests is the Dutch test. This is a urine hormone panel. And from that test, we can see how are you breaking down your hormones. Are you processing your testosterone well, or are you turning it down a pathway that causes hair loss and acne and all this stuff? And if that's the case, we just fix it. And we make sure you break it down the right way and you don't have any of those issues anymore. So for that person, I'd say get the Dutch test and let's see what your hormones are doing. Question, can over-the-counter progesterone cream irritate ovarian cysts? I haven't seen that. Typically that helps ovarian cysts. So like PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, typically progesterone is a game changer for that. And it can really, I've seen it actually shrink cysts.
And the over-the-counter progesterone is uber low dose. So
yeah,
I don't know that it's doing anything.
Did you guys have?
I do have a few more. One is, I suspect PCOS. Do you recommend a certain hormone test for diagnosis?
Great question. So PCOS, again, polycystic ovary syndrome. In order to have that diagnosed, you need 2 out of the 3 criteria. So number 1 would be cysts on your ovaries. The second would be either you're not ovulating or you don't get a period. And the third would be you have high androgens, which would be like testosterone or DHEA. So diagnosing that properly is important. Typically, so I would do the Dutch test in that case and see if they're metabolizing their testosterone in that way or if they're having high testosterone. And then again, usually progesterone is a game changer for that.
Thank you. And please pardon my pronunciation. Another question is how to prevent menorrhagia?
Yeah, so that means heavy periods. So a very common symptom of estrogen dominance is too heavy of your periods. Because estrogen grows things, right? It grows the uterine lining. So when women go through menopause, it's common that their periods get shorter or they get lighter because they're not making so much of that endometrial tissue. But when a woman has estrogen dominance, they have really heavy periods. So that's a
clotty,
and it's just like, it's so heavy. They have to use multiple tampons like every few hours. So
I guess it's hormone imbalance. All those things, PCOS, the excessive bleeding, it's hormone imbalance.
Yep, exactly. All right, any other questions on here? Were there any more? That's it?
That is it from online.
Cool.
How about you ladies in here?
Well, I have a question as to where's your compounding pharmacy?
We're in Sereno Valley. Yeah, so pretty centrally located, but we can ship all over California and we ship out of state as well, so.
Yeah. All right.
But we'd like you to walk in too and see us.
Yeah, we can see them. So yeah, you can make an appointment. I'm happy to work with any of you. I can prescribe hormones to anyone in California. So it's a beautiful thing.
One other question.
Yeah.
So the question being, as far as insurance, does this qualify for most medical insurance, health insurance?
Yeah, I will. I can talk about it. So by and large, most doctors that do this kind of medicine don't take insurance. They're spending about an hour with you. You can address some of that in the more you're doing on the doctor end. On our end, we do take insurance and we bill. The trouble is we bill all Blue Cross Blue Shield, all of it. Not all of your insurance plans cover hormones, and typically your copay is higher than our normal retail. So it's cheaper just to pay cash from us, but we do bill insurance. There are a few occasions where the insurance actually reimburses us, and the copay is low enough that it's lower than our normal rate anyway.
And as far as your practice?
I wish I could take insurance. They don't cover me. Yeah, they don't cover it. So yeah, unfortunately I can't. It's cash only, but the girls can help answer those questions. But yeah, but with the compounding medicine, I had a patient today. She was getting Cytomel, which is T3. It's a thyroid hormone from CVS, and it's $80 a month. And we switched it to a compounding pharmacy. It was only like $43.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually the compounded version, which is cleaner. So sometimes it's actually cheaper.
Right. I think people are shocked how affordable customized medicine is. It's actually really affordable. My business partner is a woman too, and I always say she's a little older than me, but we want this type of medicine to be accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
From Des Moines, Iowa to San Diego and on. So we want everyone. It shouldn't be exclusive just for the rich and famous.
Yeah. A question was progesterone for postpartum depression. Is that something worth doing? It definitely can be a consideration because, like I said, when you're pregnant, your hormones are just so high, and then you have your baby, and they can just drop very, very fast. Depending on the woman, it can happen faster, depending if they breastfeed. So progesterone can be incredible for postpartum depression. And I would also think about the thyroid too, because the thyroid really changes, and an underactive thyroid oftentimes looks like depression. All right, any other questions, you guys? Did you have
In this room?
did you say there was a question or no? Oh, let me get something. Okay.
All right, we're good. So thank you so much for coming tonight. Are you doing any special thing?
Okay, so we talked about that. We'll do a special for patients. We'll do $75 off a new patient appointment if you book tonight. And then we also have a special prize. We have a detox kit.
Oh,
So
nice.
we didn't have any other quiz questions. We might have to do like a little raffle. Are you doing a raffle or something? Oh, good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is for which prize?
We'll start with this small consolation.
Okay. So Miss Ellen,
All right,
got a
there
prize.
you go.
Thank you.
Also, anyone on the live, that also counts for you guys too, for
It's like
appointments.
Poison, courtesy of Poison.
Oh, thank you, Poison.
Yes.
Oh,
All right. Okay, so Melody.
wow, you're
Cleaning house,
You need to go play the lottery.
All right, is this
Maybe
for ours?
that's your grand prize.
All right, so this is our 14-day detox. I've used this for 10 years. I
Oh, wow.
can't not use it because it works so well.
I'll put my name.
Yeah.
Retail value
Yeah, what's the retail value, girls?
is,
247.
247,
Oh,
okay, wow, that's a big grand prize.
Yeah.
retail value in the body as well.
Yeah, retail
right.
value is
No,
$1,000.
this is priceless.
All right, Shauna Leclerc.
Oh,
All right, congratulations. And you guys check the One Woman Hormone website out and follow us on Facebook. And the Levita website has a calendar of events for when we do these again. Sometimes we do them just streaming at noon, if that's easier for you or your friends. But it's been really nice to get back out and see everybody's faces again in person. So thank you.
Thank you
Love
so
working. You
much.
always do such an awesome job. If you guys think of questions later, you can always shoot them over to me, chris@levitarx.com. I think my cards here. Okay, and I'm happy to answer questions.
So I want to do it until the end of the week because some people are on here and they obviously can't call tonight. So we'll do that for the rest of the week for new patients. And then, bye guys.
All
See you
right,
later.
proud of you for learning about your bodies and your health. Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.